The Survivor Specialists are back, and today we have our episode 4 predictions and power rankings, and I am joined by Survivor 47 runner-up and perennial basement dweller of the NFC North, Sam Phalen, wearing his Chicago Bears hat on this NFL Sunday, just walking into the Lions den here. Poor guy. That's all I'm going to say, Sam. Poor guy. I'm glad you're back, but poor guy.
Well, listen, if I'm not riding with my Bears during the Justin Fields and Mitchell Trubisky, I don't deserve to be riding with them during Caleb Williams. And I'm feeling as optimistic as I ever have been about my team right now. So it'd be silly for me not to showcase a little pride on a Sunday morning.
I love it as a Lions fan. I keep telling people, keep feeling optimistic about Caleb Williams, and the Lions will keep winning that division. So thank you. Keep going with Caleb.
But that's like, that's like the most hurtful comment that you could ever make. Like if you're sitting there being like, Caleb Williams, he's okay, but the Lions are better, or Caleb Williams sucks, he sucks, and you were so worried about pushing that narrative, I would be sitting here thinking, Phil's a little worried. Phil's a little worried. But you just got like a little smug grin on your face, sitting there like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And that broke my heart just now. That made me feel really sad. So
every time somebody says he has talent, I say, yeah, he does. He's got so much. Keep him going. So anyway, we're going to lose all of our listeners in the first minute and a half.
Yeah, too much football already.
Football, right? But we are here. We are going to be ranking these players final 14. I thought when you were coming in, it was going to be final 15. We had a double boot last week with the medical evacuation, followed by the boot of Jeremiah. We are getting a tribe swap, and we are going to have 2 tribes for the first time in the new era. Everybody shed a tear. It has finally happened, even though really technically it's happened every single season because they split into 2 at 12 or 10 or whatever. But we're officially getting 2 tribes here, so that feels good for a lot of people. The tribes have been leaked on Instagram. This isn't some crazy spoiler thing. They had spoiled who 5 of the Hina people were last week anyway. So we will openly be talking about those tribes. So if that's something you don't want to hear, this is your chance to get out and maybe tune back in after Wednesday night's episode to hear what you think or what we thought was going to happen. But Sam, take me through what are you thinking about this season and last week's absolute chaos?
Yeah. So I think I hear all of the, I guess, eye rolls and criticism so far about Survivor 49. And I think it's mainly just the fact that we're back in a disaster tribe season. Survivor 47, and I forgot what the other one was. There's only been 2, I think 43.
47, 43, and 42 also did not have one, but 42 was really weird.
Yeah, it was okay.
Jackson got medevaced early, so that kind of threw off
definitely
the whole rhythm of that season.
But I think when you get that taste of a non-disaster tribe season and you start to feel the balance that exists in a pre-merge, it can create for a lot of really interesting gameplay, and it's fun. It gives us so much more to talk about because you've got 3 tribes where actual Survivor gameplay is going on in each episode, and vying for position is going on each episode. And when you get in this disaster tribe format, obviously 2 tribes are sort of nothings, and they're not in the episode, and there's no real strategy being shown at their tribes. But then also the one tribe that is going to tribal is playing a much less strategic game because they're in survival mode, and you simply have to ask yourself, how do I get to the next one? And so I think that headspace and that shift definitely exists within every player after you lose that first immunity challenge. So I think I was a little bored through the first 2 episodes just because I wanted to see something new. I loved episode 3. I truly did. And I know it's gotten a lot of criticism, and the medical evacuation was pretty controversial for people about, why Jake didn't get to stay in the game if it was a dry bite, and why they still made them go to tribal council afterwards. But I think we hear so often, Phil, this criticism about new era Survivor or Survivor in general, and people want to see emotion. They want to see real human moments. They want to see conflict or sadness or whatever it is that people are feeling. And I think that's what Survivor is supposed to represent, is this game that is played around very difficult emotions, positive, negative, and all the way in between. And I felt that, and I saw that through my TV screen on Wednesday. I was like, kind of had a pit in my stomach listening to Jeff talk to Kelly after Jake got medevaced, and feeling that sort of like family bond, that tribe unity of like, let's go do this for Jake. And they were so confident going into that challenge, being like, we've got Jake on our side now. And then they lose again. And that level of heartbreak and that realization that we keep having to cut each other and we don't want to anymore. This was our alliance. So I felt a lot of emotions. And I think the dynamic between that Kelly tribe in particular was very interesting this last week. So I enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, I think what my biggest complaint going in was when we did this last Sunday, it was me, Rachel, Blake. I don't know if you saw Rachel finally get her revenge against Blake for Blake. She's it felt so good to sit here and just witness that car crash. But as I'm sitting here and we were going through it, every one of us put Jeremiah 15, Jake 16. And I think what my biggest takeaway is, why does Survivor have to spoil what that was going to be? Because when Jake is saying, I have a kid on the way, you can feel the desperation in his voice, right? This feels like something out of a movie. This doesn't feel like a regular real life situation. This feels like something where an actor is being told, this is your line. I mean, that's how, like, and I'm not saying that he's acting it. I'm saying it's so harrowing that you feel like this is something you only see in Hollywood. You're not seeing this in real life on a reality TV show. We haven't seen something to this level since season 32, when Caleb got pulled from the game in such dramatic fashion. And so when you're watching this, you feel that, but I knew it was coming. And this wasn't, I know a lot of times Survivor likes to get ahead of things, especially when they're bad, right? When the Varner Zeke situation happened, you knew what was going to happen in that episode before the episode aired, because Survivor had released it to the press so that the press could get ahead of everything, so that they're not playing damage control the next day and almost looking to exploit the situation and say, look how great it was for TV ratings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you sometimes get ahead. In this one, they didn't have to get ahead. And then what was so brutal about it was, because Jake gets medevaced, and we knew that was going to happen because they told us in the preview, they also showed them all running a challenge, and we also, Jake wasn't in the challenge. So I agree with you that there were a lot of good emotional moments. Jake is a really likable guy. Jake is somebody that I would love to watch play Survivor again. He's now on the Unfinished Business tour. I feel like he's like in his Taylor Swift era here. If he's just
he's on Reputation.
He is. But I would love to watch him play again. I really would. And I'm excited for that opportunity for him, because I think he has a lot of upside that some of these players who get medically evacuated early do have, as we saw when Scoopin came back and finished third. I know that's not a name people want to say, but he did come back and finish third. We do also see Penner come back and play a good game. We see Caleb, he didn't really work out. Bruce worked out for sure. So I think that there's a lot of positivity there. And I just hope that that all comes to fruition. I just wish that they had handled it differently in the buildup to the episode.
Yeah, I think that's all very fair. And it's honestly, I think that's a refreshing take, Phil, because I would encourage people who watch Survivor fans out there, Survivor haters out there, to try to separate as much as you can the players who are playing the game from things that Survivor can do that you might not be a big fan of. I wish that this wasn't telegraphed and that we didn't know, hey, it's probably going to be a Jake Jeremiah boot before the episode even started. Definitely. I think that makes for way better TV. And I think people would have enjoyed the episode a lot more if that Jake medical evacuation came out of left field. That would have been wild for people to see. But that also doesn't mean that the players out there aren't like playing Survivor really hard or trying to make good, fun TV, or just doing their best to last in the game. And I also do want to remind people that if you were to look back on a number of seasons in hindsight, I think that a boring pre-merge or a pretty hunky-dory pre-merge can set up a really great finish to a game. It's very rare to find a season that has like an electric pre-merge and an electric post-merge, and it just never slows down for a little bit. Sometimes these lulls, these 3 episodes where you're eliminating people, and I've felt like each of the 3 people that have been voted out up to this point, I haven't really gotten to know much about them. I found it actually exceptionally odd how little content somebody like Nicole or Annie got as the first 2 boots of a season. But I think, or I like to think, Survivor is sort of building up bigger characters. And I think that will make for a tremendous season at the end of the day. I firmly believe that like the seasons people remember as being very good seasons are ones where you're sitting at the final 8 and you've got 5 or 6 people
Mhm.
that are big characters that you're invested in, and you are invested in them emotionally in the journey that they've been on. And so it's very possible that you're getting people eliminated that we don't see a ton of, and it creates for some snoozer episodes so that this back half is jam packed with people you do know and you do care about and you do want to see succeed or fail, and that'll make every episode must-watch TV.
Yeah, no, and I think that's why people really attach to 47, right? I mean, your end game had a lot of people to root for, even if from an edit perspective, it started to look like Rachel was going to win, but everybody had their own rooting interest, which
Mm.
is what is important. I think what a lot of Survivor fans are over right now is, let's say, Sam, you go and make a movie, right? You write out a script and you make this movie and it's a hit, but everybody says the first act wasn't good. So then you
Mm.
go and you make a sequel to the movie, and everybody says, man, that first act still wasn't good. But the people are still watching the movie because they like how it ends. And then you make a third one, and people are like, okay, the first act still sucks. You got to fix the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
act. That's what keeps happening in the new era version of Survivor because of this 3 tribe start. I understand that some of this is out of production's control, but also you rolled the dice 12 times and you've realized the dice are loaded. You know
Mm.
that they're loaded at this point. You can tell you're at the craps table and the guy just keeps rolling 7s to open up. Like, this is BS. And so I think that's where Survivor fans are getting really frustrated is, I agree with you. I didn't get to know as much about these characters, and there can be great end games. I mean, I think 46 had one of the best end games ever. It's super entertaining, all the blind sides with idols and everything. That pre-merge is horrendous.
It's
It's one of the
awful.
worst of all time.
And then you hit episode 5 and it's rocket fuel.
It's
Like, I
it's
mean,
insane. Yeah.
yeah. Let me ask you this, just curious, because I don't even know where I fall on it. Would you rather the current setup, right? A 3 tribe setup where you do risk disaster tribes, but it does feel like at the very least you get to know at more people, at least in a tribe setting, right? If a tribe's going to tribal council, we're going to hear from everybody on the tribe about where they sit and where their alliances are or why they're voting the way that they're voting. Or a 2 tribe setup, which is what everybody has been begging for, right? And let's call it 20 players, 2 tribes of 10, where you can show both tribes more often because there's only 2 instead of 3, but there might be 3 people on both tribes that get a goose egg in the confessionals and you don't even know why they voted the way they voted or where they're aligned. Which of those do you prefer? I think I still prefer the 2 tribes. But I think that that's an interesting thought, because that's probably the decision that Survivor producers and editors have to make is, they've been very invested in showing everybody's story or telling the story of as many people as possible. And I think when you go back and you look at 2 tribe seasons, it can be very difficult to do that for some of the people that are background characters on such
Mhm.
a big starting group.
Yeah, I think Survivor needs to find a balance, but I'll give what my opinion is. I'd rather watch 2 tribes where there's going to be 2 or 3 people left out, but
Mm,
at the same time, I think they have to mix it up season to season. That's really what it comes down to, because season 8 they do a 3 tribe start because they wanted to get more people onto the season. It made sense, okay, because it was all stars. After that, they don't do another 3 tribe season until 25.
yeah.
And there are so many dud seasons. 21, 22, 23, 24 are so bad that Survivor said, oh crap, we got to wake up and we got to do something different or we're going to lose our audience. Because coming off of Heroes versus Villains, that was when you started to get more into this digital age. And the ratings did start to go from, oh, we're hitting 12 million an episode to we're hitting 6. Like, it's starting to tank really, really fast. So they do a 3 tribe switch up here. Philippines comes out, it's a breath of fresh air. Everybody loves it. If you actually watch Philippines isn't that good of a season, but it
Sure.
feels like such a breath of fresh air because it's coming off of really bad seasons that were 2 tribes. We get 3, it's something new. They go back to 2 for Karamoan, 3 for 28, 2 for 29, 3 for 30, 2 for 31, but then there's a swap that gets you to 3. I think mixing it up is what they need to do. What do I prefer? What do I think creates best seasons overall? 2 tribes creates best seasons overall because you're getting head to head. Challenges mean more. You get better rivalries. You
The
start to get.
challenges, I like that you said challenges. Not even challenges mean more. The challenges are cooler. Like,
They are.
Mike Bloom, I think, made a post about this in the Chat BCC group chat that I'm in with him talking about Survivor. But he posted about how 3 tribes might be the reason why we get lame challenges. And I'll say that I'm not Mr. Criticized Survivor. I think like pre-merge challenges are pretty lame. Almost all of them. They're almost all the same. There's not a ton of variance. I've seen it before. And by the way, it always, always, always comes down to a puzzle. And they sort of vary it where odd number seasons, 47 and 49, are puzzle at the end. And it didn't really matter what I did in our tribe challenges. We had Rachel and Annika. Rachel and Annika were, absolute puzzle stars. We could get there last. We'd probably still win the challenge because they would be able to do the puzzle really well. And so it was, that every single round. You watch 46, you watch 48, it's ending with basketball shots or a beanbag toss or a slingshot. It was always something coordination and physical. That's what I kept wanting to happen on our season, but not what we did. And they never varied it up. And so why don't we get, and that is the part when I go back and I rewatch an old season of the show, that is the thing that I miss, is the steal the bacon in the middle of the ocean where you're trying to pull people back to your flagpole, or any sort of like mano-a-mano 1v1 challenge. I think creates a lot more diversity in the challenges themselves and allows us to better follow a narrative arc. One of the best seasons of all time, obviously David versus Goliath, I think benefited a lot from the fact that it had a nice theme and it had a very simple boom versus boom, and which of these two groups are you in, and how is that going to factor into your game? And when you sort of get into this blurred lines of a 3-tribe setup, it can be more difficult to follow that narrative. So I think that just all the more reasons to back up your case.
Yeah, and I mean, Will, as our in-house challenge guy, right, has worked on the show, has done, he worked during the 30s on challenges, and he always says you can't do anything when it's 3 tribes. You can't do this versus stuff, because doing 1 versus 1 versus 1, normally you get a pair that teams up on one and then it comes down to something else. Like, you can't really do this round robin style of head to head the way that you might be able to in real life with other things.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, even and people want physical challenges back, but you wouldn't even need to do physical challenges. Like oiling yourself up, coming down a slip and slide and having to toss a ball into a net like they do in Heroes versus Villains is such a fun challenge. And it's so easy. It's so cheap. It takes 15 minutes to run, which is exactly what the new era of Survivor needs, because you need something that can keep you on production schedule. And I think as well that what you just said reminded me of this. Challenges now, and I know this obviously from being out there in a 3-tribe format, it never feels like us against them. It feels like us against us. I was never sitting there and being like, you know what, F Tuku, screw Tuku for winning that. You know what, they can go suck it. Come on, like Gabe, this loser Gabe, I'm taking him down one-on-one 100%. That never crossed my mind. It was like, well, we messed that one up. And I do think that mano-a-mano rivalry 1 versus 1 setup of my tribe versus your tribe creates a level of tribe pride, creates those one-on-one matchups within challenges that sort of start fun rivalries in the season themselves. So that is actually a great thing I would love to see return, is like, I love seeing Jervis in season 27 celebrate his challenge win, talking smack, man. And he just, every time, he can't help himself. He just has to be like, I'm the best, y'all suck, eat it, suck it, go back, losers. And it's awesome. It's great. Like, give me more of that.
Well, and I think that's why, people talk about how the new era is too kumbaya. Everybody gets along too well. It feels like, oh, we're all friends with each other. There's not a lot of conflict. A lot of it comes to this. I mean, if you think about, early seasons, somebody had just posted the highlight. I forget which Instagram account it was. I always see it and then never clock who it was that posted it. But it was of Tyson in Tocantins when JT's trying to shoot the slingshot and Tyson's already done. And Tyson goes, hey, you want me to come over and help you?
Yeah.
That's incredible. When Colby gets ridden to the mat by Coach, that is the moment we all remember. Sugar with the double middle finger and Stephanie dislocating her shoulder, and just people saying, I want to beat this person.
That's those human moments that people talk about. Yeah. And like, let's put it in it, like, and maybe it wouldn't translate, right? Maybe people are worried about being too nice. Maybe you end up You know, and I love him. I love him, and he's been awesome on TV. But like the Riz God beating Alex, where he's just like, "Oh, excuse me, buddy. Excuse me,
Mhm.
buddy." You know, like maybe that's what it ends up being, anyways. But try it, right? Like because Mr. Gen Z Riz God, if he starts talking smack, goes like, "You're cooked, buddy," or starts like
Yeah.
celebrating on somebody's face after beating them in a challenge. Oh, I'm glued. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think when people talk about Australian Survivor and AU versus the World just happened, and I just binged all of AU Survivor for our patrons, the one thing you notice is they do two tribes almost all the time, and it creates these crazy rivalries. It creates, I want to beat this person. This person keeps kicking my ass. And it tells you so much more about the characters too, right? Because
Yep.
like you said, it's a lot of us versus ourselves. And as an audience, what's fun is I always go to Panama as the example because I think Aris versus Terry is probably my favorite rivalry in the history of the show because the two of those guys just banged heads the entire season. Aris couldn't beat Terry to save his life, but won it when it mattered most, right? He doesn't win the immunity challenge at the end, but he wins the game.
Yeah.
And I think that show is what it's all about because these two guys are just going at it to the point where they don't like each other anymore, but they respect each other enough to keep on competing. And it was so much fun to watch. And we're just not getting that level of rivalry anymore. And you can't even create that because let's say, Sam, you're going head to head and you're against Gabe every time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you keep beating Gabe. Gabe's a competitive dude. He's eventually going to say, this Sam guy's pissing me off. Maybe I want to vote him out when we get post-merge because he keeps beating me, but I'm going to beat him there.
No, yeah. And it definitely, like, I think you do get some of that, or at least on our season, we did have some of that after the merge. Like, there was definitely, for me, some palpable tension about people that I was just like, I hate this person right now. Like, I want to beat this person so bad. It's like, honestly, the first time that it happened was, I was very upset about, I don't know, I was having a rough day, but we were at the auction, and I really wanted to buy something at the auction. Like I was just trying to buy some food. I was really feeling it that day, and I kept bidding on food. But I was pissed off because I got 4 envelopes or 5 envelopes of money or whatever it was, and my 5 envelopes of money had $400. Well, Kyle's 2 envelopes of money have $700 between the 2 envelopes of money. And I'm just like, seriously? Like, this guy wins everything? Like, these Tukus keep winning everything? It drove me nuts. And so I kept wanting to buy stuff, and I keep seeing Kyle has all this money. Caroline has all this money. Kyle buys something that he can't even eat because he doesn't want to eat the meat. And so I'm getting annoyed. And so then finally Jeff brings out this big breakfast, and it's like my turn to spend the money. Like I can finally get this item. And then he says, "Oh, it's put up the money if you want it. And if you don't eat these grubs, these live grubs, you just, you take your money back and you don't get the food." So that makes me even more upset. And then I'm sitting up there, and it's me and it's Sue and it's Caroline, and it's the 3 of us going to eat these grubs. Again, it's a small thing, an inconsequential thing, something that doesn't matter in the hindsight of the game. But I remember Jeff talking to Caroline, and she was like very confident. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to crush this. I'm going to crush this." And it started getting me mad. It started making me really mad. I'm like, okay, all right, well, we'll see about that. So I knock those grubs down, and as soon as I get them down, I over celebrate. I like smack the counter and scream, and I'm like, "Come on!" I'm yelling. I do like the Brad Culpepper when he throws the sand like after he wins the immunity challenge. But it was because there was sort of like this rivalry in my head going on, me against these Tukus, and I had to put them in their place. And that can happen post-merge, but I want to see it starting earlier, because if it starts earlier, wow, is that going to bubble once the game becomes individual?
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I'll say about this, and then we'll get on to the 2 tribes, is I do think, again, like going back to what you learn about the characters, when you see some of these challenges and you get somebody who physically beats somebody else that you weren't expecting, it lets you learn a lot as an audience about those people, right? Rather than telling the story about, and again, I'm not picking on Sage. She's just the one who had the confessional last week. But rather than telling the story about how much your childhood sucked, you're learning about what these people are overcoming by watching them perform in the challenges too. And I feel like that's a part of the storytelling that's been omitted. It's a lot of tell, don't show nowadays, when they used to be able to show and not tell, where you would get somebody who did great in a challenge and you said, "Ooh, I didn't think they were going to be that strong. I didn't think they were going to be that good. When Danny's going head to head against Stephanie in Guatemala, you say, oh, Danny can compete. Like, she's good.
Well,
And I think that that's something missing.
Let me tell you who the example is of this that just came to mind is John Cochran.
Yeah.
I mean, has there ever been a better? It's what her confessional was, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I never fit in with people growing up. I had trouble making friends. I had a bunch of friends that like betrayed me and all this stuff, and feels sort of like socially uncomfortable. And she's telling me about it. I watched John Cochran play on Survivor Karamoan, and I felt like I got that about him.
Yeah.
I got, hey, this is a guy that hasn't typically fit in. He's never been the cool guy before. And here he is doing the damn thing. And everybody is lifting him up on their shoulders and celebrating him. And they're like, Cochran, you rule. And that's a pretty emotional moment for him, but also that's what Survivor can do, is take somebody who's here and completely flip them towards the top of the totem pole. So yeah, show, don't tell is typically the rule of casting. So it should be the rule on the show as well for production and editors.
Yeah. It's gone out for season 49. Everybody's been telling. There hasn't been a lot of showing, but that's also because this blue tribe just got decimated. And now we're down to just Alex and Sophie B. And they're finally going to get some life in this game. So good for them. But I do think that had something to do with it, because then over on the red tribe and on the yellow tribe, when you can't tell us anything through challenges, when you're not really doing journeys, when they're not having to make any decisions, there's no payoff to any of the conversations that happened on those tribes. Yeah, maybe there is in the future, but right now, and with the way the tribes broke out, it looks like it's going to be Hina versus Uli here in terms of on both tribes. Sophie and Alex are going to be fine. They're in that Malcolm Denise spot where they can just say, okay, we're good. And I just feel like it's going to end up being Uli versus Hina. So a lot of what we were hearing from those tribes, nothing mattered, at least for that portion of the game, which goes back to your question of would you rather 2 or 3? I think my biggest thing with 2 tribes over 3 tribes, there's always going to be at least one payoff for both tribes in the pre-merge, even if it's not a lot. Like you go to a Ghost Island type season, you get Malolo loses 3 of the first 4 before the swap, but Navidi still loses 1.
Yep.
And so you almost are getting if you keep the tribes together long enough, you're going to get at least a payoff for every tribe, at least one. And that's big, because then we're watching everybody go to tribal. I don't know who Uli's actually aligned with. I don't know who Hina's actually aligned with, because we haven't been shown. We've just been told, and you just have to take people's word for it and the editor's word for it at this point.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit in my rankings, because it did influence some of my rankings, as well as people who maybe wouldn't be in as good of shape as I think they're in now, because they didn't have to go to tribal, and because they didn't have to go to tribal, they haven't really had to draw a battle line yet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's look at these 2 tribes. So I have it right here, and we have 2. So we're going to have Hina, which is going to be Matt, Jason, Sophie B, Savannah, Rizzo, Jawan, and Nate. So 4 Uli, 2 Hina, and then Sophie B. And then Kella, which I love that this is from Survivor Gift. They posted this. And for the Kella tribe, they have the picture of Kelly Nalbandian next to the name of the tribe. So I love that. We have Shannon and Sage. So 2 Uli. We have Alex. And then we have 4 from Yellow. Sophie and Christina, who you may be surprised are still on the season. MC and Steven. And I'm not taking shots at Sophie and Christina. That's where I'm taking shots at the editors, because you asked me earlier, would you rather have 2 tribes where people are getting zeros or 3 tribes where you're hearing from everybody? You can't have 3 tribes where you're leaving out 3 people per episode. Yeah. That's bad. Yeah. That's really bad. So
for sure. Yeah. And interesting here as well. You've got the, I mean, not to spoil any of the rankings here, but a pretty disastrous split, I would say. About as cut and dry of a split as you could possibly get, with both of the Kellys separate from each other, and then just a clear 4-2 majority on both sides. Not exactly the dynamic split that you would have been hoping. Like 3-3-1 electric. Even a 5-5-1 or a 5-2 and then a chaos group would have been interesting. But this is like very cookie cutter as far as this tribe division is concerned.
And what concerns me about this tribe division, and again, I know that the 49ers are probably going through it. I mean, you deal with it, right? When you were on a season that was popular, but you're still going to get the people who are super negative and hating and all of that. I mean, 48, I know, went through it. This podcast was negative about 48 for the most part too. It gets annoying. So this isn't taking shots. I don't want the 49 cast to think this is personal attacks. This is just unfortunately the state of the game. After watching,
I'm not out on the scene. Like I do
no,
think
I'm not
like,
out
hey,
either.
Here's the thing for 49ers out there. If this post-merge, like the thing in the Survivor world, right? I had to learn this. People only remember the last thing that they saw.
Yeah.
And if, they have a couple of okay episodes and then a couple episodes from now, there's just like this awesome episode. Nobody is going to be sitting there talking about like, we hate season 49. They're going to be really excited to watch episode 7. And so it's all, what have you done for me lately? And if this season ends up having a great post-merge, Jeff did tease the post-merge before the season as being highly unpredictable and really exciting, and seemed to be the calling card of the season was the back half of it. And if that's the case, people are going to remember 49 very fondly, and it'll be awesome. So
that's 46. Yeah. We all forget we watched Banu get voted out twice in 46.
People love 46. Yeah. The 46 pre-merge. I think it was episode 2 of 46, one of them. And it was the first time I'd ever been sitting there watching the show and been like, we don't need 90 minutes. We don't need This was an episode we didn't need 90 minutes for. And there were a few of those in the 46 pre-merge, and people loved the season because it finished really great. So there's time.
Yeah, there's time, but this is where I'm going with this with 49, right? No, I'm not going to be the ultra negative podcast. I'll have my negative takes, but here's my problem. First 3 episodes, we watch a disaster tribe. So act 1, same act 1 as most of the other seasons. With the way this tribe swap shook out, I'm excited that we're getting 2 tribes. I really am. We need it. It's fresh. It's awesome. But like you just said, with the way this shook out, I think we're probably 2 weeks away from this season starting, because I think that this is going to be pretty cut and dry, because even the people who have been split out together, it feels like people who are already working aligned together and aligned. Yeah.
I do agree with that. And maybe we're wrong, right? Maybe there's a big move in here, and we're going to be sitting talking about how epic some of these tribal councils are and how some of these episodes are. But if we do go down a path here where the next 2-3 episodes are cookie cutter vote out the bottom of the totem pole vote outs, I think that will be very disappointing because it's, as we said, sitting right here, pretty predictable from where we're sitting already. I'll ask you this, Phil. How long do we think they're going to stay like this? Because the typical new era merge happens at 13. That is like when mergatory begins, and you've got 1 or 2 vote outs before the jury phase begins, but everybody is on the same beach. So they're at 14 now. Do we think this is it would be a bad choice, I think, to do a one tribal, and then we go back to mergatory thing. How long do they stay here?
So, okay. Jeff said that this split was always planned. This swap was always planned to go to 2 tribes. He came out and said that this week in one of his interviews. Now, Jeff could be playing Monday morning quarterback. We have no way to fact check Jeff, right? Yeah. Like whatever Jeff is saying, we just have to agree with. However, if it was planned, here's why it's planned. And I've been saying this all season. 49 is the testing ground for 50. 50 is coming, and they want to see, what can we do in 49? Can we go from 3 tribes to 2 tribes, get rid of mergatory around 14? Because I think that for 50, you're probably going to get 2 boots for most of the pre-merge. But then if they do want to go to 2 tribes for a shorter period of time, can they do that, and how long can they get away with it? So I do think that we're going to get this through Final 12. And I think what we're probably going to see is Final 12 will be a mergatory type thing. I don't think that we're going to get a merge demerge on this season like we have gotten for all the other seasons, where Jeff says, you are merged, next challenge. You guys aren't competing one-on-one. You're competing in 2 teams, so you've demerged.
Yeah, there's no make the mergatory. Yes. But there will be 1 round of the merge where the person voted out does not make the jury.
Agreed. Yes. Okay. That's what I did.
That feels right to me too. 2 votes with this current setup, and then a merge boot that doesn't make the jury, and then we're rolling at 11 then from there on out.
100%. That's what I absolutely think is going to happen. And I think, yeah, final 12, it'll be this crazy thing called a merge, where it actually will be a merge where the people will go and merge and compete against each other. And now you have to remember too, we are a little thrown off with what the normal plan of New Era Survivor is and what the production schedule is, with Jake being medevac and Jeremiah going home. So we had we had one of our 2 double boots already. So maybe that impacts the way the show goes moving forward, because we're going into episode number 4 here. We're going to have 9 more episodes, whatever it is. And we're at 9 episodes left with 14 people. You can get to a final 5 with 1 more double boot. And so I don't know if they're going to split up after the fact. So this might have worked out in their favor. Now, if Jake hadn't been medevac, I wonder if they really were going to do 2 tribes of 7, or if they were going to do 3 tribes of 5.
Yeah, they might do 2 tribes of 7, go down to 12, and then do another one of those like weird 6 and 6 splits where each group votes somebody out, which is just another tribe swap technically, but
they call it merge.
Yeah. So I mean, it could have been that. I do think that like once Jake gets medevaced, the producers have to do whatever keeps them the most on schedule.
Yeah.
And so, you know, why did Jake get medevaced? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. Insurance, maybe one of them. But number 2, like, why did they still have a tribal council after Jake got medically evacuated? Well, Jake gets medevaced on day 6, and they just went to tribal council on day 5. Typically, you would go at 3, you would go at 5, and then the next tribal council would be day 7, like really. And if you don't go to tribal council, you now have night 5, all of day 6 and night 6, all of day 7 and night 7, all of day 8. Sometimes that next tribal isn't even till day 9, depending on the current setup of those other tribes having nothing to do. No journeys planned, no journey set up, nothing going on. So I do think they had to run a challenge and keep the game sort of moving. And then they knew that they had the room in the production schedule of, hey, this time that we were planning to do a double boot, let's scratch that and make that like a regular vote out 2 weeks from now, to account for this loss. So I think that explains it to any Survivor fans out there that want to know, well, why'd they still have to vote somebody out? You know, it happened before the challenge. And this is why you'll see Survivor will not have people vote somebody out after an immunity challenge, as is the case with Randon on season 46. Yanu ran the challenge, lost the challenge, was preparing to go to tribal council, and then Randon was pulled from the game. But because Randon can be pulled from the game, at that stage, it doesn't affect the production schedule. It doesn't affect the days and tribals and whatnot. Versus Jake right now, the morning after going to tribal council, if you then cancel the next tribal council, that throws off a ton.
Yeah, a ton. Plus, they wanted us to watch Banu do the exact same storyline, a second episode, Sam. Don't forget that. That's the real
I will give them was funnier the second time.
Yeah, exactly.
The Banu, I like as much as I kind of rolled my eyes at it sometimes. Banu on his knees to Tiffany is one of my favorite moments of the new era. It's so funny.
It's so uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable watching it for the first time. Watching it back in hindsight is hilarious.
Yeah. Be yourself, but don't do that. I also want to address this. So we're 38 minutes in. If you still made it this far, like and subscribe, all that stuff, right? But here's the one thing I do want to address. We got a lot of comments on Wednesday night's episode where people were like, you guys are clueless about this medical situation. You don't know what you're talking about. They put him in the hospital in Australia, because we were pretty much saying, like, it doesn't make sense that they pulled him. We don't understand from what the edit showed why they pulled him. And I just want to address this now, because some people were getting like really heated. I tried to ignore the comments as much as I could, because look, everybody's gonna have a different opinion on this, and I'm fine with that. But when people start personally being like, you guys are morons, you guys are idiots, you guys are this, whatever, I start to be like, okay, let's take a second here. Let's take a time out and let's calm down. And I'm going to start responding. Here's my thing. You go, you read an interview with Jeff. You read an interview with Jake. You listen to a podcast with Jake. You do all that. We are recapping this episode less than 5 minutes after it ends. Whatever they put on that TV, I am Ron Burgundy with the teleprompter. I'm going to recap what is on that TV. I am not recapping interviews. I'm not recapping hearsay. I'm not recapping X or Blue Sky or Instagram. I am recapping the 90 minutes that were on TV. And I know some people, they put him out in Australia after this. Yes, they did. But we weren't told that. And we weren't told specifically that we need to monitor your snake bite. We were told we need to monitor your mental health here. That's what it seemed like to me when I watched it. I know it's not a big thing, but I just need to make this abundantly clear. And also for the people who have been on the show, who are listening to the podcast and who are like, man, you guys are way off the mark. I'm only able to recap what I watched. I can't look, I think of reality TV, right? People were like, well, it was implied. We live in an era where they are literally having script writers at Peacock and Netflix and all these different places write the action that is taking place on screen, almost like a narration, so that people who are looking at their phones can still follow what's going on screen. Don't give me implied, because when it comes to reality TV, I don't think anything should be implied. I think it should be very cut and dry. And then the last point I will make, it's been good in our chat tonight to the point, or this morning, to the point that I forgot, but there were homophobic comments in the chat last time that we missed that were related around this, and we missed it because of the snake bite and all that. So I just want to say, if you post anything that be construed as homophobic, you're getting removed from here. Don't do anything stupid in our chat. We're just going to block everybody now. So those are two things. And I know those two, that's kind of a non sequitur, but I just remembered I was supposed to address that at the beginning because the chat's been so good today, but it was awful on Wednesday night. So anyway, Sam, hi, how you doing?
Hey, say your piece, man. Get it out there.
I know we made it 40 minutes in. I had to get everything out there, but yeah, somebody commented on our video and was like, hey, there was a lot of nasty stuff going on in the chat. And I was like, I was so heated about this damn snake bite. I missed everything. I went back and looked at the chat and I was like, damn, not a good look for fans of the Specialists. So don't be doing shit like that, guys. Anyway, Sam.
All right.
Who's your number one?
Yeah. Should we get into our rankings here? Yeah.
Let's do it.
My number one. So this is my safest person, right? Like,
yes.
Not going home. It's Savannah.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be a very boring podcast now, Sam. I'm glad we made it 40 minutes of fun because I think we're going to agree a lot.
Yeah, Savannah, clear, like we said, she's in this 4-2-1 majority on the new Hina tribe. And for me, it was also looking at the people that are from her original Uli tribe that are with her here. We know that she has a relationship with Rizzo. We know that she has a relationship with Nate and has talked about bringing Nate into this 4. And this was the person actually that I was talking about as being a beneficiary of not going to tribal council, because as far as Jawan is concerned, he's still right there with Savannah. Like, he's still in this majority alliance. And so if you're Savannah, you might have been planning to cut Jawan, and maybe she is, but you get to a tribe swap, and I think people go back to that sort of survival mode. You look at a clear majority here. I think this is 3 guys that all want to work with Savannah. So she's my number one. I don't really see how a coup gets formed here to get her out.
Yeah, Savannah's an easy one, and I'm going to be honest with you. My first 4 are the Ulis on this tribe.
Oh, really?
I just think that they are so set up, and all of a sudden, Jawan's really, really, really weird edit from episode 1 makes so much sense now. Because in episode 1, it was Jawan's in this alliance. He's going to do the applications for number 4. It's going to be awesome. He's in control of everything. And then he makes fire, and Savannah goes, I don't know if I trust this guy. Something's up with this guy. What's going on here? And it feels like now Shannon is Savannah's girl, and Jawan is out. Jawan and Sage are the bottom 2. Jawan is probably the bottom. It's looking bad for him. However, it makes a lot more sense, I think, why the editors gave us the breadcrumbs with Jawan in this first episode of him and Savannah potentially having something, because now Jawan is the obvious 4 here. Maybe Sophie jumps him as the 4th in this group, and maybe it's Rizzo, Savannah, Nate, and Sophie who ultimately take over. But Jawan is so useful to Savannah.
I think that's really possible, by the way. Sophie, the only other girl here, I think her and Savannah would get along fantastic. Like, they seem like they have pretty similar energy. And if you're if you're Sophie in this spot, you're like, where can I find safe harbor? Where can I find anything? I think there could be a natural connection there with Savannah, and a fresh person like Sophie might be more appealing to Savannah than somebody like Jawan, who you roll your eyes at, or these people from the Hina tribe, the original Hina tribe that you don't know at all.
Yeah, and I think for Sophie, she played it really smart last week when she ultimately didn't vote with Alex, or she did vote with Alex. She didn't vote with Jeremiah. And she said, look, I'm going with Alex because if he doesn't play the idol, I want him to know that I was on his side. If he does play that, I want him to know I was on his side. That's very smart. She's going to go where the numbers are. There's this group of 4. I think she's going to immediately get over there and she's going to say, Savannah, you and me, only 2 women here. Let's team up. Let's work together and let's get rid of these 2 Hina people if we need to go to tribal council, because there's too many Hinas left in the game. And we see this all the time. The tribe that has the most people, saw it on your season. We see it on 48. We see it on a bunch of seasons. The tribe that has too many people, when they get to the merge, those people start going. Or when a tribe swap happens, they start going. Right now, Savannah, Rizzo, Nate, Sophie, Jawan, I feel really good about them. I feel really bad about Matt and Jason for 2 reasons. 1, I haven't heard anything from Jason. Last week, I heard something from him for the first time, it felt like all season. And 2, Matt, his edit started positive and then it quickly took a negative turn. And for me, that makes it feel like, okay, this tribe, if they lose, it's going to stick along tribal lines, which is why I feel so good about the Uli people. I put Savannah at 1 because she's being shown as the mastermind so far. But I feel really good about all 4 of my Uli people here, because even if Sophie wanted to flip, she can't. And I don't think Jawan realizes how far on the outs he was on that original starting tribe.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I don't have it right down the line of like the 4 original Ulis as my top people. But I do like that group in general. I feel okay, especially for them to get through a couple of rounds. You would think that they've got a little bit of insulation. My number 2 is actually over on the New Kelly tribe, and it's MC. MC with an idol now, with this Beware advantage, with her number 1 ally in Steven there, who can help cover for her. We have Christina, who believes that she is in this 4-person alliance with MC as well. And then remind me, MC has this thing with Sophie as well, where she kind of went off and told Sophie, hey, you're on the bottom. So, this is the perfect group of 4 for MC to be with. And she's got the idol. She's in the majority. MC sitting pretty here on this New Kelly group.
MC, and this is going to be this is a big statement to make while Sam is on my podcast, and the chat might be like, Phil, you're an idiot. But MC is giving me Genevieve vibes a little bit. And here's what I mean by this. Really slow start. Last week, we started to see her really start playing the game, and the editor seemed like they were having a little bit more fun with MC last week. And now MC gets to this tribe swap, looks like she's in perfect position. And I feel like we're going to start to see the, oh my God, I love MC growth arc here. Will it ever get to the level of Genevieve? Most people don't get to that level, right?
Well, I will say, I think I was a little nervous about MC at the start. I didn't like what she did when she went to Sophie S and talked to Sophie S about it. My only reason for that is you kind of had I get why she was a little cautious, but you had a majority 4 alliance kind of sitting there on a platter. And before she found this Beware advantage, my question was, okay, MC, that's fine. You maybe don't feel great about this 4 and you really like Sophie. What are you going to do about it? Even if you don't have votes, there is another 3 that plans on voting together. I don't see what your counter plan is here. And by going and telling Sophie, hey, you're on the bottom, here's the alliance, yada, yada, you are jeopardizing your spot in that majority group. I was very nervous about that. Over the last few episodes, we have sort of seen the MC has pulled Steven to her away from Matt and away from, that was the first connection, was Matt and Steven. Now it seems like it's clearly MC and Steven, and she's got the Beware advantage. So she has the ammunition if she needs to fire into a group of people that is making her unsettled. She can, but she doesn't have to, because she has friends on this tribe to give her in the majority. So I think every episode she seems to position herself better, and she is set up to be a real force here once these tribes get merged.
Yeah, and I want to bring up the Beware advantage here, but I want to bring this up first. MC has Sophie from what the edit showed us, right? She's the one who went and told Sophie. Sophie was pissed. We haven't heard from Sophie, but we heard MC and Sophie go and talk. Steven has Christina. We've barely heard from Christina, but we have Steven and Christina, and then we know MC and Steven are tight. While if you showed me that group of 4 just off the cuff, I'd say, ooh, there might be some infighting there. Because of how close Steven and MC have gotten, I think they're the glue guy here. I'm speaking to the glue guy, but they're the glue guy who will hold that group of 4 together, and why I think Shannon and Sage are ultimately going to be in more trouble here. Not to be too spoilery on my power rankings here, but I do think that if MC and Steven weren't together, Sophie and Christina could be button heads a little bit. Sophie could be looking for her out, looking to go with somebody else. But I think because Sophie feels good with MC, Christina feels good with Steven, this group of 4 will probably end up sticking together. Beware advantages. What's going to happen with these? Because they weren't able to find them until after their tribe lost.
Yeah.
Now, it did work out where MC and Rizzo are on opposite tribes. But what is going to take place now, do you think?
I think it'll be the hunter from season 46, right? They'll probably notify them that there's like oh, that's a great question, actually. Well,
now they might be at different beaches,
Yeah, they are both switching beaches. I mean, I don't know, because I guess the hunter thing was it was a merge, right? And if this isn't a merge, this is a swap that happens at a challenge, presumably. There is no sort of warning to either MC or Rizzo that this is happening. I would assume, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing production just let 2 idols go to waste because they swap 2 people. So like maybe there's some sort of tip off that this is happening, and they give them.
They're not hidden yet, right? They said because they're not hidden yet because they're saying after your tribe loses, come back to the well. So like, I'm sure
that would be a decent insurance policy, especially if they were planning this tribe swap, as Jeff said, right? Like the insurance policy being once you lose, come back to the well, and then they can hide the idol and give them more information. So then either one of them, probably what they would do is go ask your producer, can I talk to you for a minute, and pull them off into the woods and be like, so what do I do with this idol now? And they say, just go back to the water well if your tribe loses, and you can just do it on this beach. What would they have done if Rizzo and MC were on the same beach?
That's what I wanted to know.
I don't know. This is, I actually don't know what they're going to do with this, but I hate to, and this is the problem with Beware in general, by the way, is this very predicament. But I would really think production's not just going to let 2 idols no longer exist and be like, oh, that's tough that you found it. I mean, we spent way too much time on MC finding a Beware advantage in an episode if it's not going to matter.
I agree. So they're probably going to be hitting on their tribes. I know we had talked about it last week, what would happen, and Will said maybe they're just team captains. Maybe that's what they're doing, which would be one hell of a tell. My number 2 is Rizzo. I have him here. Again, like I said, I'll just say my first 4 so that everybody knows. I go Savannah, Rizzo, Nate, Jawan in that order. Savannah, love her. Rizzo, even though he doesn't have his vote technically, if they lose, everybody from Uli, including Jawan, knew that he found this. So they will team up to go and find this, right? And Sophie can actually say, hey, Alex had found that on my tribe. If she's looking to build trust, she can say, Alex had found that on my tribe. I can help you guys look. She's not the sneaky girl walking down the path where you say, oh shit, don't let Sophie see. Sophie can say, I'm really in with you guys. Let me help you. It's this little chest looking thing, and you have to carry the ball and chain. And if she's straightforward with them, that could really help. So I think that Rizzo will ultimately get his vote back before they would go to tribal council. Even if they don't, I think Sophie's going to be with Uli because that's still where the numbers would be. It'd be 3-3 at best if Rizzo doesn't have his vote. Sophie's not stupid. She's going to go with the 4-2. And I think that Rizzo's in a good spot. I go Nate at 3 because he seems the next closest to Savannah. And I go Jawan at 4, preseason winner pick. I've been really high on Jawan. I'm trying to keep him alive. I gave him the life preserver. I keep saying, you guys are dumb. You're not seeing his winner edit. It's right there smacking you in the face. It's not. But I keep saying it because I want it to be true. This swap worked out so amazingly for him because they can't even say we got to trim the fat, because if you get rid of Jawan, that might signal to Sophie, oh, wait, maybe I don't want to be a part of this group, at least not at the first vote. Maybe if they go twice, you say we can get rid of Jawan. He's not in with us. I also think Jawan's a little bit of a lost puppy right now, and he needs a group of people to align with. So why would he want to go against you? He's not going to.
I have some thoughts on Jawan. I'm not going to talk about Jawan in my rankings for a while. Okay. Little spoiler, but I'll kind of address that later. I have Steven as my 3rd, and then I follow with Rizzo at 4 and Nate at 5. So I agree with your Rizzo and Nate assessments. Rizzo above Nate because he's got that Beware advantage. Both of them seem close with Savannah. From what I'm predicting, whatever Savannah wants is what's going to happen here. And so I feel pretty good about Rizzo and Nate both staying. Steven, to me, it's similar to MC. He just seems to be really in a power position of this initial Hina group. He has the relationship with MC. He has the relationship with Christina. I think this is somebody who's actually going to hit it off really well with Alex and Shannon as well. Steven has glue guy tendencies. And, being in a majority with glue guy tendencies is a spot. I do kind of regret having him this high now that I really say it out loud, only because I think Steven would be a little bit of a juicy target. He's one of the more physical guys on the season. He's a very smart guy. He's a really charismatic guy. He, all the things that are like, hey, I'm a threat, come and get me out. And he has allies. So if you are Shannon or Sage or Alex or even Sophie S, who feels potentially burned by her initial Hina group, I think Steven is a logical target. I just think he might have a little bit too much protection. And I also don't even know if I think that group's going to lose. Is that correct? I like the strength of that group a lot. MC, Steven, Alex,
Here's
Shannon.
the problem, though. Jason's on the other side, and if everything's coming down to a puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. But maybe we'll get more fun challenges because now we have 2 tribes.
That's true. Here's the thing too, like Shannon, Sage, and I'm looking at it on my phone here. So if anybody's like, why are you staring down? I got Shannon, Sage, and Alex. Let's say those 3 did get together. Let's say Alex said, ooh, I like you girls. Let's go this way. I could see Sophie having a lot in common with them. I could see Sophie, Sage, and Shannon really getting along. Alex fitting into that group, all of that working. The problem though is I think that scene, I think they showed it for a reason. Even though it's a conversation people have every single episode, right? They showed the scene of MC going to Sophie and Sophie reacting so strongly. I think that even if Sophie says, no, I got to go with this group, it makes the most sense. She's going to go and talk to MC, and MC is just not going to be on board with it at all, which is what will ultimately make it so that group of 4 Hina will stick together. Because I agree, Steven can become a very juicy target here. But I worry that the person needed to make Jason go home, or to make Steven go home, is Sophie, and MC will never go against Steven. And if Sophie's closest ally is MC, she's not going to want to break off with MC right here, right now at Final 14. So she won't go and take the shot at Steven because MC is not going to be willing to do it.
Yeah, it's one of the downsides of the fact that we haven't really heard from Sophie S at all, because I don't know how tied to MC Sophie S is. We kind of got that one like, oh, I really appreciate you telling me that. But we don't have enough information, I think, to know if this is something that she would actually consider. But I do tend to agree with you when we look at just the numbers. Where are 4 votes coming that can go on to Steven? I ultimately had it unlikely, which is why I had him as high up as I did. Maybe I should have dropped him down a little bit, but that was kind of my first look. So, then 6, I guess, or who do you have 5?
Well, so you went Savannah, MC, Steven, Rizzo, Nate. I went, Savannah, Rizzo, Nate, Juwan. I have Sophie Belardi at 5. I'm just I'm literally going that entire tribe. I think there's a couple things here, right? And I watch the edit. I will watch the edit. And right now there are 2 people with 0 confessionals on that tribe. Matt and Jason both have an episode with 0. Matt just had his. Jason had his in episode 2. Jason has really not said anything on this season. Matt had the up and then the down. When I look at this, Sophie, 23 confessionals. Rizzo, 15, Savannah, 13, Juwan, 11, Nate, 7, right? Now, Matt has 8. Matt's in there, but he's got that 0. To me, it feels like we are being set up. Sophie, Rizzo, Savannah, Juwan, Nate, those are your main characters. Those are your main characters for this season. And Alex has the most with 27. Alex also had in episode 1, he went and did the challenge. Episode 2, he was the one who ultimately got the Beware advantage. Alex has had a lot more reason to be shown than Rizzo, Savannah, Juwan, and even Sophie Belardi, who loses all these immunities. She still hasn't had as much of a reason to be shown as Alex, and she's only 4 confessionals behind him. I think Jason and Matt have been shown to be expendable. I'm going to go all in on this, and I'm just going to say these are my top 5. I think these 5 are fine, and then I'll work through the other tribe accordingly.
So that was you have her at 5, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, who's at 6 for you? I don't have Sophie B too far down, but
Okay,
it's
so for my 6, this is where I have MC. So I have MC. I'm in agreement with
okay.
you. She is the safest person on that tribe because she's the glue with Sophie. She's the glue with Steven. Christina doesn't know that she's going and being backstabbing. They cannot be broken up. And let's say Sophie were to flip and were to go with Alex, Shannon, and Sage, which I don't think is going to happen. But if she was going to, MC's not the target.
Yeah.
So MC's golden as far as I'm concerned. I put her at 6. I could have put her at 2. I could have put her at 3. Ultimately, I just feel like that group of 5 on that other tribe is just so powerful.
Yeah, I do agree. Like this top group, like I could have put Rizzo number 1 instead of Savannah because he's got the beware advantage, and like I wouldn't have batted an eye at that. So I think it's all relatively, I don't know, arbitrary, I guess. There,
Yeah.
I have Christina at 6. And my reason for Christina at 6 is 1, she's in the majority. She seems to have a good relationship with both Steven and MC. And I'm just like, who's coming after Christina when I look at this Kelly group? I know that she's kind of been not shown, right? Similar to Jason and Matt, where you could argue that she's been made up to look expendable. But I don't see how, like, if you're doing a counter strike against original Hina right now, you're looking at Steven or MC. You have to be. You have to be. I don't know how somebody's looking at Christina here. I think she's in a great spot to sort of play the middle, fly under the radar for a few votes, get herself to the merge. So I think she's very relatively safe. I have her at 6.
Yeah, I look, I don't have Christina that much further down, but the reason why I didn't put her quite this high is mainly 2 confessionals in 3 episodes. She's had back-to-back episodes where she said nothing.
Yeah.
I understand Hina wasn't going to tribal council, but if you start going back, and I did this a little bit ago, I'm not going to go back through every season and everything, but if you start going back to what they've been doing in the new era, Christina's edit is maybe the smallest through this point in a season since season 41. It's really incredible how little she has been on our screens. And so part of me is like, okay, does she start to become important now? Or is she going to be somebody who just goes home when she goes home, and maybe she gets swap screwed and they didn't want us to feel for her, and so they didn't really tell us about her? I think she will be safe this week, but I just get so, I mean, 2 confessionals, 2 episodes with nothing. She's got to be saying something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain how I mean, you don't even go for like a setting the scene sort of confessional. Like just like, oh, the challenge was great, we won, vibes are up on Hina, like something like that. Come on, man. Like it's really hard to believe. I'll go to my next tier here. This is my final person that I would say is like safe. I feel good about this person being safe, and it's Sophie B. So I have Sophie B at 7. I think best case scenario for her and Alex is to be apart. I think there can be some danger if these 2 people are together, because now you're kind of seen as a duo. It's like, well, they must have been working together and voting together really tightly if they're the only 2 that survived Kelly. And so I think Sophie B definitely benefits from being apart from Alex. But then when I look at her and Alex separately on their new groups, I like this fit for her a lot more. I see Rizzo, who she'll get along with. I see Savannah, who she'll get along with. I think, we've heard her talk about how she wants to be in with some of these meat shields. I think Joanna and Nate are people that Sophie B could charm pretty well as well. So I think that she has a much more likely chance. And I have Alex at 8 to spoil my rankings.
I have him
right back. So. I think there's a big gap, Sophie B to Alex, to me.
Really?
I don't think Alex is in trouble, but I do think if one of these 2 people is going to sort of be like, yeah, well, nobody's going to care if Alex is gone, or nobody's going to care if Sophie's is gone, all their tribe mates are out of here. I do think Alex is more likely to get sniped here with his particular group. I think he might have a harder time finding relationships than Sophie will. But both of them, I mean, we just saw the other tribes sitting at the immunity challenge bench being like, God, I feel so awful for them. They basically have immunity at this round. You're not going to vote out the 2 kicked puppies who have had such a rough go. And I think that's going to be some valuable runway for Sophie as she gets ready to set up for the second half of the game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have Alex at 7. I think that that's a really, 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 really great take there from you, though, about the fact of there's a big gap. I feel like even though Alex has the most confessionals and Sophie has less and all that, I feel like the winner potential between those two players is
Uh,
massive.
I
I
absolutely.
I feel like Sophie could absolutely take this game. The story has been told from Sophie's point of view, right? Jake is her number one. Jeremiah is her number one. She doesn't like where Alex is going and that Alex is with Jake. You know, she had the line of, I get jealous. I don't want this. You're my number one. You're with me. And Alex, again, a lot of his content has been circumstantial. They're both losing challenges, but Alex has 4 more confessionals than her. He does the journey. He is the one who finds the beware advantage. It's his closest ally who goes home last week. And he's still barely ahead of Sophie, who Sophie's been more narrating. She hasn't done a lot of those other things. She does say it would be bad for me if Alex finds this idol, all of that. But I think that the winner potential is massive. The thing with Alex that worries me in his edit so far is him going to Annie. I worry that they're setting us up for Alex to be somebody who overplays his hand further down the line because he was in with Jake so well. He seems
Yeah.
good with Sophie, but he kept going over to Annie saying, I want to work with you. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I get that these are conversations. You should be having a conversation with every single person on your tribe, even if you think that person is number 6, because Mary played a shot in the dark well last season. She stayed in the game. You never know what's going to happen. But for them to show that and have it not mean anything right now, it makes me concerned that they're setting us up to be Alex being that Capitol Hill guy is going to be trying to make a little too many things happen to pass this bill. And it's ultimately going to get him kicked out of the game. I don't think it's going to happen yet, though, because that tribe breakdown is too good for him. And like you said, he essentially has immunity right now. Nobody wants him or Sophie to go home. And I also think him and Sophie are going to be so happy that that whole shit is over, that
Yeah.
Alex is going to have the smile on and the charm will be out. And he
You're
is
gonna
just
be so fun to be around.
Yeah.
Like with just like fresh faces. And like you have to be excited to meet new people, excited to kind of open this next chapter. And I think that, it can be kind of magnetic. You can feel that off of people. And I
Well, let
think
me
it'll
ask you
serve
this.
both of them well.
You're on a season, and you weren't on a season with a disaster tribe, but if you're out there, you're playing the game, you get somebody from that disaster tribe, you get somebody who just heard the Jake thing. As soon as that tribe swap happens, you're going, hey, so tell us about what was going on, right? And that's just enough to make you likable and keep you around.
Yeah, I mean, I think the closest thing that we had to that was Andy on our season, because Andy has his really terrible first episode and like his scene at the challenge, and it's very public, and it's sort of everybody's like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And then he doesn't go home, and now they're curious. Now they want to know so badly. Why didn't they vote out Andy?
Yeah.
And yet you've heard him talk about how he feels like he's an outcast on the tribe, how he feels like he doesn't have any friends. And so regardless of what happens the rest of the way, regardless of the relationships that we build with Andy, you know that the other 2 tribes are going to be sitting there licking their chops, being like, we need a number. We need a number. Andy's a loose cannon over, like he's completely defunct from the rest of his tribe. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. We got to the merge, and everybody was like wanting to hear what happened, hear why Andy didn't go home. They want to get in Andy's ear and see if they can pick him up. And I think Sophie and Alex are that because of their circumstance.
Yeah.
They're the free agent that is public right now. And they have nobody else to turn to, even if like you're Sophie S or Sage at a merge and you're wanting to say like, hey, I didn't really have any friends on my old tribe. Can you guys please include me in votes? They don't know whether or not to believe you.
Yeah.
But who are Sophie and Alex going to go tell? Nobody. They don't have anybody. And that's really fun. It's just like a free vote that you can pick up if you're a big alliance. And I think that they're both probably good enough players to exploit that to their advantage. I agree. I think he's a really good player. I think he speaks very well. I think he's very smart, and he assesses risk variance well, as we saw in the last episode with him playing his idol. But I do think he's somebody who has a lot of power, and you can tell when you meet Alex right away, this guy can talk. This guy's intelligent. Like we know what his deal is, and that'll probably set up for a more probably post-merge boot, where Sophie, I feel like, is so good at these personal relationships. And that was one of my highlights of Kelly early on, is Sophie had Jake, Sophie had Alex, Sophie was the one person kind of looping Jeremiah into this group of four, it seemed. And Sophie kind of had Nicole, and Nicole was going to Sophie and was like, am I good? I really like you. She was the person everybody was coming to for their plan, because I think she does a really good job investing in the like personal relationship side of things, which is so valuable at this stage in the game. So I think her upside is above Alex's for sure.
Yeah. And then my number 8, I have Steven. So lower than you have him. I still feel like this tribe, he's fine. He's good. Him and MC are so close. I think them showing us how close they were last week is important. I think Steven's edit is setting up for him to be 10th, 9th, 8th, something along those lines, where the people he did put a lot of faith in are the ones who vote him out based on his crazy horror movie paranoia edit that he got in episode 1. I feel like eventually he will be got by people that he has faith in. It's not going to happen this episode, though. Hina and Uli are way too focused on taking each other out. And they both said it last week when they said, we should go find these idols because we got to take down the other side.
Yeah.
To me, though, Hina does not have the advantage based on the edit, except for Steven, who has clearly been the star of that tribe, in my opinion, through the first 3 episodes. So I have met
I would group Steven in. I do think he might go a little, I don't know. To me, Steven feels like he's in that group as well that you brought up earlier as like the main characters of the season. I would probably take Jawan out of that group, and I would throw like Steven and MC. I think it's Savannah, it's Rizzo, it's Sophie B, Alex, Steven, MC. Maybe that group of people is kind of like the 6 that they really want you to be focused on as a viewer.
It's funny that Matt actually has the most confessionals out of everybody on Hina, because
that surprises me.
Yeah, Matt had 8 through the first 2 episodes, didn't get anything last week. MC has 7, Steven has 7. So, but Steven had 5 to start. But I do agree with you. Steven feels like somebody we should be paying attention to, and MC feels like somebody we should be paying attention to, because MC pretty much had the only strategic confessional from that tribe so far, which was when she went to Sophie. And
crazy that we've gotten one strategic confessional from an entire tribe, but
it's so brutal. But I agree. I could throw Steven. See, you don't think Jawan belongs up there because Jawan wasn't your preseason winner pick. See, when it's your preseason winner pick, I'm not knocking him down. It's like Ohio State's undefeated number 1. I went to Miami. Miami should be number 1, but I understand you can't knock down Ohio State until they lose. Jawan can't be knocked down until he loses.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. Who do you have at number 9?
Number 9, I have Sophie S. We're in the second tier of people who I think all realistically could go home. Sophie S is of those original Hinas that are on this new Kelly group. I think there's maybe there's a chance, right, that like, I don't know, Steven and Christina just don't trust her that much, that she's the sacrificial lamb. I think it's unlikely. I think she's relatively safe here. But I definitely think she's a good step below some of these people. And the numbers help her. The numbers definitely help her.
Yeah, so I'll do my next 2 because you've said that both. I have Christina at 9, Sophie at 10. The 2 most invisible people on the season thus far, but they both get swapped to the same tribe, which I do agree with you is probably the stronger tribe, although Jason being on the other side, being good at puzzles, it might not matter. But I feel like Sophie and Christina, if they were on this side that had just 2 or even 3 Hina members, I would think they were done. But being that they're over there with 2 of what feel like the 2 main characters of Hina, being Steven and MC, with Alex, with Shannon and Sage, who have gotten really weird edits thus far, I feel like Sophie and Christina are both okay. Now, I have them at 9 and 10 because if they went home this week, would I be surprised? No, not in the slightest. I would say, yeah, of course, I should have seen that coming. But I still feel like they're not – the gap between Sophie and my 11 is monstrous. The bottom 4 here, I think, are a very obvious bottom 4.
The only reason why I think like I would be surprised if somebody like Sophie or Christina went home here is because I feel like if that was the case, right, it requires Hina to turn on themselves. And I feel like we would have been teed up with just a little bit more of Steven really doesn't like Sophie S, or Christina and Sophie S really don't get along, or there's some suspicion there. And we haven't been teed up with that. Like we've seen MC being a power player on her tribe. We've seen MC building a bridge to Sophie S, but we haven't had like the breadcrumbs of a potential tribe member turning on their initial tribe member. And because of that, it would seemingly come out of nowhere. It would have to like lead off the episode with somebody doing something disastrous, I feel.
And Alex not having his idol anymore even eliminates the idea of maybe Alex would play an idol to get the numbers with other people. Like Alex doesn't have anything either. There are no idols on this tribe, with the exception of MC could get the beware advantage. And if MC gets it, she's not voting out Sophie or Christina.
Yep.
So totally. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, my bottom four, I got two from each tribe. It's the two people who are in the minority from the tribe that are completely solid six. That's who I have. But you have one more before you get to your bottom.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's a bottom five for me. Like this is where I'm like, okay, this is the bottom group. But my 10th is going to be Matt. And I think Matt is in danger for a lot of reasons. I mean, all of these people that I have now are either in the minority group or Jawan, which I'll talk about. But Matt, to me, I think has the best ability of the, let's look at the four people who are swapped into a minority group. So Matt, Jason, Shannon, and Sage. Matt has the best ability to go under the radar here. Matt, I think, has the best ability to be like, who cares? You know, like, are we really going to take out Matt? Like, is that the most threatening thing to us before the merge? I think, you know, he can kind of lean into that shtick of like, oh, I'm just the older guy. Like, you know, I'm here with my cool hair and good vibes, and I'm here to make friends. And I think that can be rather disarming for some of these people. So I would not be surprised at all if he went home just by the numbers of it all. And the fact that the people he seems to have made inroads with, Christina, Steven, MC, they're on the other group. I think that's a really bad swap for Matt, but I think that he can probably camouflage the best.
Yeah, I have Matt lower. I'm very worried for Matt this week. I think episode 1 was a good one for him. Episode 2, telling MC that she would be the fourth, and that wasn't a good look. And now he's going to this tribe, and I don't know. I mean, I'm going to get it. I have, between him and Jason, I have a very specific question that I want to ask, but I want to wait until you kind of get into your power rankings with
me. Yeah. Okay. So I'll go and get into my next one because this is the one that we've been waiting to talk about. I have Jawan at 11. And I'm worried about Jawan. I really am. I think in the preview, you see Rizzo talking a lot about like, hey man, I'm ready to play. Like he's ready to spice it up. He's ready to make a move. Is he making a move against Matt, who's like a sitting duck in a 4-2-1 split? Mm-hmm. Like that doesn't seem like a big move there, Rizzo. Like I feel like taking out Jawan now, that's a move. Like now you're playing. You've got your idol. What are you going to do about it? Jawan, to me, I think going back to earlier with Sophie S, we didn't get the breadcrumbs of original Hina might not like Sophie S. They might turn on Sophie S, right? It gives me reason to believe that she'll be fine. We have the breadcrumbs for Jawan here. We have the Savannah does not like this dude right now. He's on thin ice with the person in my eyes that is the godfather. Oh, she's the godmother of this tribe. Like she, at least from what the edit has shown us, is calling the shots. She's determining who's in the 4. We don't know because they haven't gone to tribal, so we don't know whose actual will would win out. But I think Savannah, with a relationship with Nate, with a relationship with Rizzo, I think she will forge a relationship with Sophie. I think she can steer some votes whichever direction that she wants. And if she wants to throw Jawan under the bus, she absolutely can. Let's also go back to what you said. I think a lot of these people are smart players, and they know, hey, Uli, we can't go to the merge with all 6 Uli. Like, you know, it might not be the worst thing in the world if one of the Ulis got cut and Uli turned on Uli, and now we seem like less of a unit, like less of a package deal. And if there's one person right now that Savannah feels okay cutting, it's Sage or Jawan. She might have the ammunition to do it here. So I don't think he's bottom tier, but I'm worried about him.
There he is. Dang Sam, crying. There he is.
Hey, We'll see, man. We'll see. That's nothing negative about Jawan himself. I am worried about the setup because we have seen so much of Savannah's perspective, and she seems to have her sights set on him right now. And you get to this sort of tribe swap setup, it does enable players to, you give them more variables, you give them more ammunition, you give Savannah a Sophie vote or a Jason vote or a Matt vote here, where it's like, hey, if I can pick these up and take out my target, I can. And the people that Jawan really seem to be connecting with are on the other tribe again. Like that's what I'm worried about for him.
Here's where I think that Jawan will be safe and why Savannah will ultimately go with him. It's because I could have totally misread this. I may not have misread this because we don't know, because Uli never went to tribal.
Yeah.
But I kept saying that Shannon and Savannah's relationship felt built on the thinnest of whatever, right?
It did to me too. But but then you have Shannon keep saying like, well, Savannah's my number one. So I don't know.
I don't know. I thought for sure if that tribe went to tribal, Savannah might say, Shannon's annoyed me, I'm going to vote Shannon out of the game. But then we had Shannon doing a lot of stuff. Going into last week's episode, that's what I thought. After last week's episode, I said, no, Savannah and Shannon are really tight. Here's, though, why I think Savannah will be more willing to work with Jawan. Who she is probably closest with, which is Shannon, is not on her tribe anymore.
What do we think about the Rizzo thing, though? Because, like, there was all that stuff about she's been talking to Rizzo a lot. Like, is Rizzo her number one at this point?
I think that based on what I think Savannah might have had a tweet, or somebody might have had a tweet. And again, I like to talk about the 90 minutes,
Girls Alliance. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
About a potential Girls Alliance. And I think that's why they said, wait a second, should we be worried about this Rizzo thing? I also think that Sage, which of the guys is Sage really bonding with? She's certainly not bonding with Nate. I think Rizzo would be, lip service, like just.
Well, that's what yeah. I mean, I think Sage and I don't know, Sage and Jawan maybe have talked a little bit. I do. Sage clearly has the relationship with Shannon. I think Shannon and Jawan have talked a good bit, but Shannon's not on the group with him. The thing that, like, again, we keep going back to, we haven't seen enough of this group, because I don't know, what is Jawan's relationship with Nate? What is Jawan's relationship with Rizzo? We've seen Savannah is like, hey, ready for him to go. But if she tried to push that agenda, would Nate or Rizzo be like, uh-oh? And maybe, what if this is the move? I just kind of talked myself in a circle here. What if this is the move that Rizzo's talking about? What if Savannah is like, hey, Jawan, time to go. And Rizzo says, I don't want that to happen. Uh-oh. And I have an idol to back it up. Like, maybe let's play. Let's get my will done here. I don't know.
Do you like optimism or pessimism? Because I'll give you pessimism right now. That confessional from Rizzo's happened in the first 20 minutes of this episode. It's going to mean absolutely nothing. He's just going to say, I'm ready to play. We got a tribe swap. RIZGOD, man, myth, legend, boom, boom, boom. Whatever other catchphrase he needs to throw in there. And then we're never going to hear from him again for the rest of the episode because nothing's going to happen. That's my opinion. But I do think that Savannah being shown as the godmother, like you're saying, she will see her closest ally. Let's say her closest ally is Shannon, or even if it's her second closest ally is Shannon. Maybe she got closer with Rizzo. Mm-hmm. One of her top two allies is Shannon, and she's on the other tribe. So now she needs to make contingency plans for what if Shannon goes home. Well, if Shannon goes home, I want to keep
a great point.
Tribe together.
Yeah. You don't know what's going on over there. And so, like you're not guaranteed to have Uli even get back to you, especially with the two other Ulis sitting in the minority.
Yeah.
And so that reason that I brought up of like, hey, maybe we cut Jawan because we need an Uli to go home because we need to look fractured. Maybe you're less worried about it if you're kind of confident that Sage or Shannon is going to go home in the other group.
Yeah. Agreed. So here's where I come. I'm at my final four. This is where I come to a big impasse here. I don't know which person to put as my 10 and who to put at my bottom. So I need to ask you this question. You get a tribe swap. You're in the majority.
You're in your bottom four right now. Okay. Sorry.
I'm in my bottom four. Yeah.
I'll answer the question. All right.
Yeah. So you're in the majority on the tribe swap.
Yeah.
And you see the other tribe that you're going head to head with that you need to take some people out from. You get somebody who doesn't really seem good. He's okay at challenges. He's good at the physical part, but hasn't been nominating. Could be easily expendable. Or you get the guy who's amazing at puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
You lose the first challenge, knowing that this swap could last 2, 3, 4 episodes potentially. do you get rid of the guy who's really good at puzzles who could help you win immunities, but you're getting rid of him because the merge could be around the corner? Or are you getting rid of the guy who is kind of hitting points of the challenge that you're going to be able to hit anyway and aren't nearly as important?
Well, it's reflected in my rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I have Jason 14, dead last.
See, I have Matt 14, dead last.
Because I get rid of the puzzle guy. I sure as heck don't go to the merge with him. And this has been something that I've talked about a lot recently. It kind of blows my mind how we talk about, like, who was it they were talking about on this season as being, or it was Annie talking about Jake in like episode 2. Like, well, if he gets to the merge, he's just gonna like win all the challenges. Big guys don't win the challenges. They just don't anymore. Unless you have a season like season 48 where every challenge is made for the meat. Yeah. And it's literally just like, all right, which bro can hold the most weight over his head?
You do curls, man?
Yeah. Like, it doesn't happen anymore. It's balance. It's puzzles. That is what you need to be threatened by when you look at a challenge beast. And you know, the results from the new era say as much. I had somebody come back. We'll tell that to Jonathan Young. Jonathan Young won one immunity challenge. He might be the best physical force we've ever had. Yeah. Like, we might have he's one of the best physical players ever in the history of the game. He won one immunity challenge, playing every single immunity challenge because, you know, it's just not built for somebody his size. Jason is terrifying. And I think we've gotten that little blurb, even if we haven't heard from Jason himself, we've heard from Jeff saying, Jason, unreal at these puzzles. Jason, undefeated. He's a ringer right now. And it's really the reason that Hina has been able to avoid tribal council. So if I had the opportunity and I was looking Matt or Jason, that's why Matt was at number 10 on my list. Mm-hmm. I'm taking a shot at Jason. I'm not letting that guy get to the merge. He's, one, will fly under the radar. Two, he seems to be really lovable and sociable and like capable of making a lot of relationships. And I have no chance in a puzzle immunity challenge if Jason's there next to me.
Well, I'm going to stick. Look, your points are very good, but I'm going to stick with my guns here, and I'm going to put Jason at 11, and I'm going to put Matt at 14. I think that if you lose this first one, you get a tribe swap at 14. Now, you don't know. Did this just happen because Jake was pulled? Like, what's going on here? We're doing 2 tribes of 7. We've never seen this in the new era. What's going to happen? Same question you asked at the beginning. Are we going to get Mergatory next week? Is this just going to be one episode? I think, though, that I am probably taking my chances if I lose and saying, let's keep Jason so that we can win the next 2. Now, there's also the counter argument to be made of, I don't care if we win a single immunity challenge, because if we vote out Jason, we vote out Matt, we vote out Sophie, we still have our 4 Ulis and Shannon and Sage are on the other side. Now there's 6 of us and we're down at final 11 or whatever it is. And we're golden. Like, there's no way we're losing this game. But I do feel that, I don't know. I do feel that you would probably get rid of Matt, especially if Matt comes in and annoys anybody in any way, which we see all the time when a swap happens. The older guy immediately just, oh, we don't want to do this. Now, granted, he is on a tribe with Nate, so maybe him and Nate will get along, and maybe that'll be a way that
I love Nate, by the way. We haven't talked enough about Nate. I like Nate's temperament and his just like, man, I find it so warm and gravitating. I've really enjoyed Nate being on my screen. He seems to be really wise, really socially aware. Mm-hmm. He's been charming, but like, he's not trying too hard to be funny. I really like Nate's composure and his maturity.
He's so much different from, Marvel producer. Whoa. And then he's just a normal guy. Like, yeah. I feel like Nate is the kind of guy where if you were at a bar and he was at a bar, and he's probably going to be at a bar that I can't afford to go to, but just in case we're both watching Sunday football and he's sitting there at the bar and you start having a conversation with him, you're never going to know that he's worth millions of dollars. You're never going to know that he's absolutely killing it and all this. You're just going to sit there and you're going to talk about what's going on in the game. And so I do agree that Nate has done a very good job. So maybe him and Matt do get along, and maybe he tries to say, hey, let's keep Matt along for the ride here. This is something that I can finally bond with somebody over who doesn't vibes and all this fire and whatever else. But I just think that Jason is valuable to a tribe right now in a way that Matt isn't. I do think you're probably right. If you're thinking merge is coming, you vote Jason out. But if you're worried that this is going to last 2, 3, 4 episodes, I think you have to keep time Jason for the first one.
Yeah, you have to time it perfectly, like, because if you vote Jason out the first one and then, there's 2 rounds more, like, maybe you lose 2 more times because you voted
Yeah.
out your puzzle king and now you're in trouble. So do you try to, like, all right, we'll throw Matt to the wolves, get Matt voted out, and we keep Jason just long enough to maybe try to time it up right at the merge. It's tough to do. I will say, like, this was one of the things that we thought about on 47 when we were at Gata, and we were pretty confident that the 5th tribal council, our 2nd tribal council, was going to be the one right before Mergatory merge all on the same beach. And so Andy and I had kind of been planning for like a week at that point. We're going to vote out Annika next time we go. Let's get to tribal and we can vote out Annika. And then we lost, and we did have a conversation. Andy and I were like, should we just do Rachel instead of Annika? Because like Rachel might be able to fly more under the radar, and she's really good at these puzzles, and that could be dangerous later on. And you're trying to weigh, like, all right, is this person who is a threat to win immunities starting at like final 8-ish and can fly under the radar? Is that person more dangerous to me than the person who I think could immediately and imminently threaten my game? And so, like, voting out the person, and like in the long run, right? In this case, it would be Jason, is a risk, because if Matt is not your cup of tea, or you don't think you can work with him, and then he goes to the merge and blows up your spot, or is just like an immediate threat to you, it could be the reason that you go home and, Jason's the least of your concerns at that point.
So what you're pretty much saying is this is PTSD from letting Rachel survive that one episode.
Well, I think it's interesting because it was like, honestly, ideally, to be honest with you, if like we could have gone to 2 tribal councils and voted 2 people out at that and gotten rid of like Annika and Rachel, that would have been ideal. But it was so hard because we're sitting there looking at Rachel and we know, hey, Rachel is this threat. She's not a threat now, but 3-4 votes from now, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And then Annika, you're looking at and saying, okay, I'm less worried 4 or 5 votes from now. But I am worried that if you want me out, and you, like, for me, about my idol, you might be threatened by me. Annika had kept talking about doing this girls alliance at the merge, which excludes me. Maybe you're a threat to me immediately, and you're the reason that I go home, in 2 nights rather than make it like in the long run. And so you're trying to weigh those 2 things, and it can be hard. And so I do think if this group loses, I bet you this comes into their mind is, this Jason dude is really good at puzzles, and nobody's going to be looking at him once we merge. And that's really threatening. But does that mean it's wise to get rid of him right now, right this moment? It's hard.
And here's what I will say. I put Jason at 11 this week, Matt at 14. If they win this week and lose next week, Jason would be,
I agree,
I put at the bottom. I think I would
flip that's fair.
1 week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That, if you have to assume you're going to be in the setup for more than one time. And so if you can keep Jason around to give yourself a better chance at immunity, you might do that.
So, all right. So the only thing we have left to figure out then is who's 12, who's 13. So we have the same 2 people, Sage and Shannon. Which order do you put it in?
I flipped them a couple times. I'll go Sage at 12 and Shannon at 13. And this is more edit reading than game reading, because I think Shannon is better positioned and has played a better game thus far to Sage. But I think when we see that Sage scene that we got last week about, like, my life has been a little tough, I haven't had these friends, I've struggled to fit into groups. It feels like you're not just going to be like, show that, vote her out. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's pretty intentional. And there has to be some sort of redemption story for Sage here, where I'd like to think she's going to find a group or her group at some point. And maybe that comes with this swap. And maybe that original, Uli tribe wasn't her cup of tea. So I don't know. Based on the numbers, based on the breakdowns, it's hard to not have both of them. This, by the way, if anybody is nightmare swapped right now, it's Shannon. Oh my goodness. What an awful mix for Shannon here. But
she was close with 3 people and ended up with none of them. And like, yeah, she's okay with Sage, but she was in that other alliance.
She
Ended up
likes Sage. Yeah, she
yeah,
likes Sage, but she was firmly in the decisive alliance, and now she's in the minority with none of her tightest allies. I think that's a really bad spot for Shannon and
yeah.
an unfortunate draw. So just kind of reading the edit, I think it's more likely that Shannon's edit up to this point has been pretty one-dimensional as far as showing her personality and some of like her quirks and the things that she likes, and the fact that she is playing and can be really personable to people. Sage's feels a little bit more complex, and when we get a more complex edit, I tend to think we're not done with this person.
Well, and the other thing here is, let's say you are the Hina tribe. Who's more dangerous, Shannon or Sage? It's Shannon. I mean, Shannon is
100%.
way more intimidating. She's a bigger fan of the show. She's probably going to reveal a little bit of information about her tribe. She's probably going to say something about how this tribe swap wasn't great for her, and that might come through a little bit in her personality and her demeanor.
And let's talk about too, the thing that obviously exists in the game that doesn't exist to a viewer is we don't get to see what happens on the other beaches. We don't get to know what's going on at the other tribes. All we ever do is speculate. What do you think? What do you think Shannon's like? What do you think Sage is like? Oh, that, you just get the little blurbs that you hear at challenges. And so if you are original Hina and you've been sitting there gossiping about Uli, your only interactions with Shannon and Sage are what they've said at challenges or on the mat chat.
Yeah.
Sage said what? I peed 4 times on this boat. Like, she kind of gave off this vibe of like a little like aloof and just kind of happy to be here and this quirky person. Shannon obviously is like pretty upfront with her spiritual side and leading groups in yoga and stuff. But even somebody like Savannah, her number one ally, was able to say, I can tell very quickly she's here to play the game, and she is very smart and very strategic. I bet you the other tribes pick up on that too. And so if you're sitting here looking at these 2 women and thinking which one of these is a bigger threat to me in the game, the girl who the only thing I know anything about her at this point is that she peed on the boat the first day is not rising to the top of my list.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon, I have to say, because I thought Shannon was going to be the first boot for sure. Shannon impressed me. If Shannon goes out in 14th place, like if she loses on Wednesday night, Shannon got around the placement I thought she would get, but not the way I thought she'd get there. She played a much better game. Even though we never watched her go to tribal, we never watched her anything. She fit in a lot better with people. She was much more of a gamer. She's going home because she's a threat.
Definitely.
With Sage, it's like, what is it? Alex is going to be like, oh man, when he got bit by that snake, I pooped my pants. And she's going to come over and be like, tell me more about that. And it's going to be like, all right, like, I don't know anything. I get that we got that from Sage last week. And one of my big complaints I said with the editors is your quirky character now can't have the most basic backstory of all time. Give me something else. Like she's been quirky. She's talking about peeing, pooping, being the Easter bunny.
Well, and Sage she was our alternate for season 47.
Okay.
And like, she's so fascinating. Like, she's like ex-military, and like she's so interesting, and we haven't gotten that so far from the editors. So I would agree with you. Like, I want to see more.
I don't need to hear that she didn't have friends growing up. It's like, get your
older. Part of me, that is why I go right here and I say I don't think we're done with Sage. Like, I really think that even if on the surface this looks really bad for Sage and like she's the easy boot here of this new group, I don't know. She's too complex of a person and has had a little bit too complex of an edit so far that I don't think they're done with her story.
Yeah. No, and that's an optimistic way to look at it. Again, optimism versus pessimism. I can be a little more pessimistic, but I think that's a good point. And I think that after seeing this tribe swap, that scene last week makes a lot more sense to me. Just like the Jawan stuff started to make more sense to me. I think that scene last week makes more sense because now maybe she's going to find her people. She couldn't find her people on Uli. Maybe she'll find her people now. Maybe she ends up being somebody who actually MC, Steven, Alex, and Sage ends up being an alliance. And that's why Christina
maybe that's why we got that scene though last week, right? Maybe we got this Sage, hey, I've never really been able to find a group of friends. Maybe she's just not been with the right people. In this tribe swap, she's going to find the right people. And I think that's a real possibility for Sage. In this back half of the game, is that she meets more people. And a lot of the initial group that didn't accept her into their majority alliance are on the other side. So,
yeah. All right. So we've gone through the rankings. You got Jason at 14. I got Matt at 14. So we both think it's going to be that tribe who loses. But the most important question, who's your winner pick for the season?
Savannah. I have a hard time not saying Savannah right now. Just like everything is sort of told through her eyes on that Uli tribe. And even I like when you brought up like necessary versus unnecessary content. I think we are unnecessarily being shown Savannah's perspective on everything that went on that red beach. Savannah's perspective on Jawan, Savannah's perspective on Rizzo, Savannah's perspective on Shannon, and like, oh, I'm perceptive, she's here to play. And we haven't really heard outside of Sage, who's sort of been set up to be this character that doesn't have a ton of strategic or social capital. Nobody has really looked at Savannah and said, this is somebody who I need to get out. So as of right now, I feel good about her ability as a player, about what we've seen in the edit. Yeah, that's where I'm leaning right now.
Yeah, I could see that. Look, I've been doing this for so long. Our first full season was season 30. And I remember season 32, I said to everybody, Michelle is getting content for no reason. Her tribe keeps winning, and she is getting content, and she is getting content, and she's getting content.
It's D. It's D.
It's D. It's Kyle last season, right? Kyle kept getting stuff when other people on his tribe were being overshadowed. He doesn't lose those first 3 challenges, and yet he's still getting content. It is Kenzie. Kenzie had a lot early on, obviously, because her tribe kept losing, but it was always from Kenzie's point of view. We were always hearing something from Kenzie. And so I feel like based on Gabler, that's really the go-to example is if you watch Mike Gabler season, he gets a confessional every episode for no reason because he's going to win the season. And so Savannah, Rizzo, Nate, Jawan, they've all gotten confessionals when they didn't need to. Steven, MC, they've gotten confessionals they didn't need to. Like Matt, Sophie, Christina, they're not getting that stuff.
Yeah.
To me, they're done. They're done because they're not being told. So I like the pick of Savannah. So far, the winner picks have been Rizzo, Sophie B, Savannah, and all 3 of them are on the same on the same swap tribe. So no surprise there.
It feels like it comes from that group, or like it feels like it comes from Uli or it's Sophie B to me. Like I think 100% that's where I'm at with it, because I also think like outside of just like show the winner's tribe. And like, I mean, Steven and MC have gotten content, but we didn't see much. We haven't seen much Hina at all. And so to me, I feel like you want to be able to follow the winner's entire journey and the winner's entire arc. A thing about Gabler, like obviously it wasn't the biggest character in the pre-merge or set up to be the best player in the pre-merge, but we knew what was going on over there all the time with the Ellie Gabler dynamic and the looking in the bag, and where Sammy and Owen were in the middle of like we knew what was going on, and we were able to follow Gabler's story throughout. It would feel like an incomplete story at this point if you told me flash forward to a couple months, Sam, and MC or Steven is the winner of season 49, I would say I didn't see the first half of their game. I don't even know who they were friends with. Like that's weird.
So here's how crazy this is, right? The yellow tribe Hina has 31 confessionals this season. 31. If you remove the top 2 people from blue and the top 2 people from red, so if you remove Rizzo and Savannah, Jawan, Nate, Shannon, and Sage have 31 confessionals. So the same amount as Hina. Now, if you remove Alex and Sophie and you go Jake, Jeremiah, Annie, they have 35. If you go Jake, Jeremiah, Nicole, it's 35. That's how little we have seen from the Hina tribe.
I'm not eliminated from the game.
I'm not counting the top 2 confessional givers from blue or from red, and they still have more confessionals than all 6 of yellow combined.
Yeah. And that I think that tells you all you need to know right there.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else about this episode, or are you feeling good?
No, yeah, I'm feeling good. I do think this episode, like I said off the top, I think it got hated on a bit unfairly. I think it was a remarkably scary moment in the show's history. And people might not believe that Survivor can still be scary in the new era. But when a producer is running down a dock in a behind the scenes shot screaming, "Is he breathing?" to the boat driver, that to me tells you a lot about the level of panic that existed amongst producers and the players and, everybody involved. I had fun watching this episode. I enjoy the emotional push and pull. And I'm hopeful that some of these big characters, as I just go down with people who I feel like I know at least a bit about: Savannah, MC, Steven, Rizzo, Nate, Sophie B, Alex, Jawan, Shannon, Sage. These are people that I know something about. I'm hoping that, the fact that I'm getting invested in these characters means that the back half of the season is really going to be exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I do want to call out your one tweet, because I saw people were giving you a hard time when you said this is probably the scariest thing. I do believe also what people are losing sight of is, you fall in a fire, you see what the injury is, right? You can see that Scoop in his breathing, his face is fine, his hands are
worst case scenario, like he's got like skin damage for the
he's got reconstructive surgery. When Russell Swan goes down and Caleb go down, you're worried, but you also know that more likely than not, you're gonna be able to cool this person off, get them under control, get their breathing back. It's gonna take some time, but like, you've seen heat exhaustion before, you've seen these kinds of things. You get bit by a venomous snake, anti-venom doesn't always work.
And Omer Zahir and I were talking about this, but by the time that bite is venomous, the body is shutting down. That's how you find out it's venomous, is that your internal organs start failing. So by the time they would have been able to be like, "Oh, this is a bad bite, Jake," he's dying. And so that is why, and there's not great communication out there. It's a lot of walkies. And when you're on a boat on the ocean, the walkies don't work in Fiji. The connection, as you can imagine, is not great. So when they get him on this boat, they have to take him to base camp. Production at base camp. Jeff is getting to base camp as fast as possible. He is. They don't know when this boat arrives if they're going to have the first ever dead contestant in the history of Survivor. That is the most terrifying moment in the show's history. It's crazy. I was pretty moved by watching it. And I find the follow-up events of it and watching a tribe have to still try to rally around it together, still have to go and vote somebody out. I loved watching Uli and Hina win the challenge and not celebrate, because something kind of similar happened, very, very, minimal in comparison to this. But on our season, I remember there was a challenge that Lavo had lost, and Tuku did a massive celebration. Like Gabe was jumping on the puzzle, screaming, hooting and hot, like they were going nuts. And Lavo was pissed, and you could the teenie said something, being like, "Oh yeah, nice celebration, guy." Like it was clear, not happy. And we talked about it as a tribe. And so the next challenge was actually the Rome zero puzzle piece challenge. That thing was in the deep freeze 20 minutes before it was actually over. We knew we were going to win. And I remember whispering to Andy and Sierra and just being like, "Hey guys, when we win this, just be like, hey, good job. Give them fist bump. Let's not celebrate. Let's be conscious of what they're feeling over there, because they're devastated." And I liked watching the other two tribes have the social awareness to be like, this is not the time to be like immunity and be freaking out. So I don't know. I appreciated the human element of the episode, and I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I feel you. I hear you, and we'll see what ends up taking place. And I'm happy that Jake was posting so much beforehand, so none of us are actually concerned that Jake seriously ill or something. I mean, he survived Kansas, so we knew he was good. We knew he was good. But Sam, it's always a pleasure. I know the chat was pumped. I threw up when Juwan talked, when he wanted to make you feel bad. I didn't throw this up, nothing but love. I'm a big fan of the analysis.
I appreciate for Juwan, if he's still here, by the way, I did mention this and he deserves to hear this. Nothing but overalls on the island, I think, is a iconic all-time Survivor look.
The
People gotta take
rash
notes.
is unbelievable to think about.
That's okay though. That's okay though. I mean, the swagger. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I could get some swag on the island, and I settled on yellow custom-made Nike shoes. But I should have just done overalls. That was sick. So
yeah,
I got to give him some love for that.
I know Ben did it, but he had like an undershirt or something, and then Jawan's doing it, and I'm just like, guys, overalls, that's just pure pain. Jeans in general hurt when they're damp.
He also had like Jawan has like I think they're brown overalls. Like they're they're spicy. It's just like it's different.
Yeah, wild. I don't know, man. Couldn't do it. If that's why I'm not being cast on Survivor, it's because yes, I will not wear overalls for 26
Let me
days.
tell you this though. I will say to back to the overalls. It might sound uncomfortable. It probably is uncomfortable. When it gets wet, it's awful. Yeah. But stuff like that is way better than something that is just comfortable, because comfortable is not going to last like a long time. Like the comfortable fabrics, my light shirts that I would wear, like my shorts, I never even wore them after like day 6 because they were just like trashed. So I ended up wearing I brought cargo pants and my big yellow hoodie, and I just wore cargo pants and a big yellow hoodie everywhere because I'm like, this is the best durable material that makes me not feel horrible every time I wear it. Yeah.
Jay says, no, they were trying to
yeah.
So anyway,
had to get the spare underwear a couple times.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Sam, I guarantee you the Bears don't lose today, so that's positive for you.
Let's go. Yeah, I can enjoy an NFL Sunday without being depressed.
For anybody who's wondering, it's just because they play tomorrow. It's not because they're going to win. It's just because they play tomorrow. I knew Sam would get it, but there's some people who are like, "What?
We're going to go 0-0 today. 0
Yeah,
loss.
Exactly. Hey, that's a great week sometimes.
Undefeated. This will be 3 Sundays in a row. We're undefeated because we had a bye week last week.
That was pretty good. What was it? There was like a period of one time where the Lions went 1-0 to start a year, and it was like the Lions have the best record this year, and it was because all the teams that had made the playoffs had lost, and the team that won the Super Bowl had lost. This was back in like the early 2010s when they were terrible. Anyway, so tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, Tegwood is going to be live with Thomas and Bianca from season 48 doing Matt chats. Make sure you check that one out. Her one with Jacob was great. Her one with Elaine was great. She's been killing it, putting out episodes every Monday. If you want to go back and check out our Digging Deeper, I had Philip Solomon on. It was just me and him. Blake was working. But that was a really good dive into everything that went on in the last episode. Obviously, our recap, if you want to go back and listen to me and Will theorize, which some people said was dangerous and we shouldn't be doing. It's like, my goodness, guys, it's not dangerous. This happened months ago. We're not being dangerous here. But anyway, Survivor Rewind, it was John and Kyle this week. So there's a lot there. If you want to become a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We are into Survivor One World for Every Season Matters. So if you're a top tier patron, you can listen to us absolutely suffer for 8 straight episodes, because my God, is that a brutal watch. That's it, though. Thank you all so much. And Tegwood will see you on Monday. I'll see you all Wednesday night after the episode.